Hi, how's everything? Hope it's great. So this one's been a bit of a mishmash to say the least, and I've been a little tiny bit lackadaisical, shall we say, when it comes to making or posting videos. And the reason why is because I've been conflicted. Um, conflicted. Uh, the world's a place that leaves you kind of conflicted. Well, I'll tell you something that I believe in. I believe strongly in people. I believe strongly in human life, and I believe strongly in the power of science and the knowledge and the collective knowledge and how we work together to improve each other in these types of things. And this is something I really believe in, and if you've been following along, you'll notice that I'm a pretty strong believer in the science of economics as a method to explain some collective actions. And then if you've really been following along and you go back to a little video I made, I talked a little bit about this book by Leo Tolstoy called War and Peace, and I summarized it as the French army marches, has battles, gets to Moscow, runs out of things to do, gets drunk, and goes home. They ran out of things to do. And this idea of things to do, it's an economic question. And if you read any introductory economics textbook at the university, high school, advanced university level, even if you go to conferences to talk about this, one is, and the question comes up, and it's well, butter or bullets? The question. Remember, I talk about the production possibility curve and government policy and the role of government, the role of people, and the role of all this stuff in society and everything. And so it comes up as this idea of butter or bullets. Okay, and maybe when I was a younger guy, when I was like, I always had an interest in economics. My first began sort of formal education in the area was I was maybe 17 years old or 16 years old or something, and the professor mentioned this one day. His name's Hugh Grant, actually. The professor, I think he's at the University of Winnipeg now. He's a great guy. And this question of butter or bullets, what should you do? And I talked about in earlier videos, I talked about how the government's role is to maximize the well-being of society by implementing policies that take a view towards expanding the production possibility curve, and how our criteria changes and our choices that we make as a society and as a person changes, and then we evolve and we recognize that things that we used to do weren't a good idea, and maybe things that we used not to do are a good idea. I mean, there's examples of this, like combustion, burning stuff is a really bad idea. I've talked about that a good deal. But so things change, this idea of butter and bullets. So should you focus your society upon making bullets, or should you focus your society upon making butter? And when I was a young guy, I'd say you should focus upon making butter, because, well, butter is good. You can use it to make buttercream icing. I like icing. I like cake. You can put it on your pancakes. You can put it on your toast. You can use it for lots of things. Butter, it's fat. Look at me. I mean, people like it. Okay, and butter is a metaphor for these kinds of goods, okay, and they're kind of positive outcome goods. Maybe another example of butter would be even shelter, like buildings. Should you construct buildings or infrastructure as a society? Should we employ the services of civil engineers and environmental engineers and biological engineers? So when we have to use the washroom, that we flush the toilet, we take for granted that we flush the toilet, the water comes, the waste material goes away, and we don't have to think about it anymore. That's an important aspect. You want to measure society? There you go. And I also, maybe in a video, I might have mentioned a guy named Louis Dudek, and how he's sort of a famous French guy, and French-Canadian. He's a poet. And he said that the measure of society is in those things that we take for granted. Okay. He's talking about butter or bullets. And then, if Alan Greenspan, he was the chairman of the United States Federal Reserve, and he was an economist, and is an economist, and and he in the introduction to his book, The Age of Turbulence, he talks about the importance of preserving property rights in a society, because it's the accumulation of property which drives the economy forward. I mean, humans, the ever increasing idea of human wants and needs, the things we want and the things we need. So getting back to butter and bullets, I always think, well, you should make butter because people want butter. People metaphorically need butter. I mean, so whatever your butter happens to be, kind of in this positive sense. We have clothing, we have fashion items, we have services, we have motion pictures, we have music, we have literature and books and knowledge, and then the pure science. The pursuit of human and expansion of human knowledge without a regard to the specific immediate purpose of that knowledge. These are all things that you're going to categorize as butter. Okay, and then there's an assumption that you and everyone around you, everyone in society, is a rational person, right? That you want to have a good life, right? And that you want for your family to have a good life, and you want for everyone to have a good life. And that's kind of an underlying assumption that I have. And one thing that is a component of having a good life is the burial of animus of ill will towards anyone, or vengeance, or remembering a slight. Okay. So bullets. Why does this even exist? I mean, the metaphorical bullets, which is weapons of deterrence, weapons of aggression, weapons. Why should you even have that? Well, it goes back to this idea of preservation of property rights and preservation of civil society and preservation generally. And remember, I said that there's an underlying understanding that people are rational actors, that you're going to do things to the benefit of yourself and the benefit of your family, the benefit of your children, the benefit of your parents, to have a better life. That you're going to recognize those things that you do not have, or the services or the needs that you need, and then you're going to pursue it without. That's it. You're gonna, you don't have a house, you're gonna build a house. You don't have a meal, you're gonna create a meal. You don't have grain, you're gonna grow grain. You don't have butter, you're gonna make butter. Rationality. So why should we make bullets at all? And the answer is every once in a while, a very small proportion of humanity, and I firmly believe it's a small proportion, are not acting rationally. They have not buried animus. And then they're going to do things that are awful and horrible. And I've done things that are less than virtuous in my life, I'll tell you that right now. So the bullets are the deterrent. The bullets are the things that are going to allow you to protect your society. And if you know me, I mean, people that know me personally know that I'm like Mr. Non-gun. Okay, if you're happening to watch this in the United States, well, guns, no, you don't need them. Less, fewer, for sure, none. Even not too far to stretch. But lately, in our world, and maybe constantly throughout the world, you see examples where armament and deterrence are necessary, because there's this tremendously small proportion of the world that manages to gain influence or power or something, and then do things that are just not good. And if you're trying to decide if something's not good, I'll tell you this right now. If it involves harming a person, if it involves harming a person's family, if it involves anything that would require medical attention, well, that's not good. It's that simple. It's not good. Don't harm people. And if you look throughout the world right now at some of the places that are not following this kind of credo or guide, it's that the people in power, the influencers, or influencers taken on a funny word these days in the internet age, but where the government is not doing their job, which is to maximize the well-being of society, where the government has not set aside animus, where the government has chosen not to be rational, where the government hasn't just made the tremendous leap of intellect and forgotten past transgressions or perceived past transgressions, which is more the case, and and they're seeking vengeance, and that's just not good. Okay. So the pathway to to happiness really is happiness, and for people to do what people do, which is to try to live a joyful life, and for businesses to do what businesses do, is to maximize profit, and for governments to do what governments are supposed to do, it's maximize the well-being of everybody in society and not inflict harm upon anyone at all. There you go. And the reason why we have these, I don't even like that word, bullets. We have these metaphorical. The reason why we have these instruments of deterrence is to have an adequate deterrent to prevent these incursions into our lives by people that they don't even wish you. Maybe they wish you harm, but it's not like they wish you harm. They're going off to do silly things, and if you to do particularly awful things, a group, mobs. I mean, I like to focus these videos upon discussions of economic concepts, but there's social and psychological concepts about mob behavior, and how people will behave differently when they're alone, or when they're in pairs, or when they're large groups, or they're incited to do bad things, like the example in the news in the United States right now is the January 6th just madness that happened in Washington. But there's other stuff, and I don't even want to say what it is out loud, but because it's not like taking sides. I'm taking sides. I'm taking the side. This is the side I'm taking. I'm taking the side of don't hurt anybody. And if your neighbors burn your house down, well, bake them a cake, visit them, have a discussion. If they don't want to talk, share a coffee. If they don't want a coffee, plant flowers in your yard, so maybe you can inspire some joy and elicit a conversation. Because the moment that a conversation and a discussion breaks down, is the moment that really there's been failure. And unfortunately, throughout the thousands of years of human history, there's been repeated failures, and the quest to end failure, end the failure of violence. It's just not good. And I was speaking with my physical trainer yesterday, and I said, yeah. She said, how? I said, well, I have a bad pain. I said the word, I have a horrible, and I stopped myself and said, well, I don't like to use that word horrible because in the context of the globe, at a personal level, horrible almost doesn't exist. I mean, if you want to, horrible, it's not good. So anyway, I have a tendency to go on, I know. So if this has been going on a bit too long, I'm sorry, but hopefully, if you think for 1 second that you're going to achieve any sort of advancement through aggression and violence, think again. I mean, I made a video discussion about some of this stuff that the Vladimir Putin is doing. It's awful, and You know, that's taking sides. I mean, just stop. So there you go. That's it. And you know, and I got experience in this. I mean, uh, uh, not at that level, but yeah, I've been punched in the face. It's a, it's kind of an enlightening, it's an enlightening experience. I almost recommend it. Being on the receiving end, it certainly is an awakening. Anyway, there you go. So hope everything's great. Bake a cake. Bake your kids a cake. Buy your kids a book. Read your kids a book. Read your kids a story. Uh, and this this idea of aggression, no, it's big, firm, hard, fast, unequivocal no for me. All right. Thank you. Bye.